Welcome to Engineering Influence, a podcast from the American Council of Engineering Companies, coming to you from our 2024 Spring Convention and Legislative Summit. We've had a packed day of events, and we've been rolling with the podcast, and I'm very, very pleased to be joined by Jessica Baker Daly, who is the President and CEO of Halff Engineering. And this is a redo. I have to admit, full disclosure, back in Austin in our fall conference, we sat down with Jessica as she was assuming the role of President and CEO of the firm, and we had an audio issue. The gremlin's in the system. It happens. You have to roll with it. But now we're able to come back a couple months after you've assumed the role of President and CEO, and to talk about your journey, talk about your firm, the things that you're doing right now. Thank you for being on the program again.
Well, thank you for having me back. I'm thrilled to be here, and I am just loving our time here in Washington, D.C., engaging with others in our industry. My journey has been like many of the people I've met at the convention here. I went to civil engineering school at the University of Texas at Austin and started as an intern at Halff over 20 years ago, and really sparked my interest in our industry and really had so many different opportunities presented to me throughout my career at Halff. And I think that's the one thing I hope that this generation that's starting out in our workforce today can see, that the opportunities are so vast with so many needs in infrastructure today and such a spotlight being put on the importance of our profession.
Absolutely. And I think it's a great story, 20 years going from intern to CEO. With a firm that's over 75 years old, you now with the ENR 100, and a firm that really has put an emphasis on culture and people. How did that emphasis kind of help you in your own professional journey at Halff, and how are you looking to take that into the next stage as CEO?
So a focus on people at Halff is not really a new thing. Our founder, Dr. Albert Halff, when he founded the company in 1950, really established a focus as people as the top priority. And he established a culture where he cared deeply for his employees, his clients, and the stakeholders that were impacted by the projects he was working on. So I really saw it as a responsibility for us to continue his legacy as we maintain and strengthen that culture over time. And so as I have had the great honor to really assume this role and step into the leadership, it's been really important for us to think about how we are making decisions based on what's best for our employees and how do we take that into consideration as we're planning for the future in our industry as well.
Yeah, it's a tumultuous couple of years. I mean, between the pandemic and that kind of forced change on the industry, I think there were a lot of firms that were resistant maybe to part-time work or work from home, and then they were forced to do it, and then they realized it could work. That shifting dynamic in the way that firms are treating their own offices, and then of course you have this new generation of workers coming into the environment that have a different they have a different value system than maybe people in my generation did, which was the usual 9 to 5, show up, do your thing, work. It was a lot more focused on FaceTime, and this new generation is so focused on technology. How are you approaching that kind of changing dynamic, and how are you positioning Halff to really attract that next generation of engineers who are coming out of school?
So I'm a big believer that flexible work has to be flexible. I really struggle with any sort of rigid policy because when you look at our workforce, everybody has a different role to play within our firms. And so it's important for us to ensure that each individual has the flexibility they need so that they can balance their life and their work responsibilities. And so that's a key aspect of our culture, is that I think a flexible environment can really generate the ability for people to thrive and bring their best selves to work. You know, we're facing a major challenge just with
Absolutely.
the workforce in general, and having enough talent in the engineering industry to do the mass amount of work that we have because of all of the investment in infrastructure. And so I think it's so critical for all of the firms in our industry to be thinking just a little differently than we have in the past.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to have to be creative with ensuring that people have those flexible schedules that they need, and that we are really talking about how purposeful our work is, because I think that can sometimes be lost. You work on a multi-year project, and the task you're working on today may get lost, and the real value and the impact that you're making in your community. So I think we could do a lot better job just talking about we truly are making a positive impact throughout the country.
And your firm, historically, your founder put an emphasis on community impact, that you're engineering for community good, right? And that's essentially the purpose of the industry, or the profession as it stands. It's fixing problems. It's making things that don't work. It's improving things. It's no engineer looks and says, yeah, okay, that's good as it is. You're always looking at ways to improve things. What can the industry do better? I mean, as someone who's coming in and with a new mandate and this kind of this ability to both keep the firm's reputation and kind of history, but then alter it to the demands of the 21st century. I mean, what do you think? What should firms be doing to really, broaden that message of essentiality? How do you communicate that beyond just we're doing a piece of infrastructure for a public client? How do you do that?
At Halff, our purpose is we improve lives and communities by turning ideas into reality. And so we really talk almost in excruciating repetition about that, just because I think it's so important for us to know our why. Why do you get up in the morning? Why do you come to work? And why are we doing these projects? And so when we think about that, I think it just brings more of a spotlight to the importance. Anybody can have a job, but if you really want to invest in your professional growth and a career for the future, I think that's important for us to ensure that people coming right out of school that don't have that experience can see the path they have laid out in front of them. And the opportunity has never been greater than it is today. And so I think all of our firms need to be thinking about how do we lay out the clear steps for one to advance in their career. What are the experiences? What are the skill sets? And how are we investing in our people to ensure that they get that needed development so that they can feel the purpose as they're growing in their career?
It's interesting because you have a unique perspective because you've done so much at the firm. I mean, you start off as an intern and you move up through the ranks. You're doing project management, then you're leading teams, and you're running P&L, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're in the C-suite, and now you're president and CEO. Back in the days when I was on the Hill, I can count the jobs I didn't do rather than the jobs that I did, right? It's that you have that experience in all those different sections. How is that personal experience of having so many roles at the firm helping you create those opportunities, that structure to allow professionals to grow and to experience different things in the firm?
In my perspective, I feel like the world is almost calling for a different style of leader than a few decades ago. And I try to use the experiences that I had in different roles in the firm just to be a more empathetic leader. How do I put myself in the shoes of the person? How do I perceive what their impact of our decisions are going to be?
With the benefit of having been there,
yes,
and knowing how that is. And
I think it's important that people understand that I was a project manager. I did lead a team, and I do hope that I can resonate so that I'm bringing that perspective. And then I also think it's really important for leaders to get out and talk to the people working on projects within their firms. I visit all of our offices and just try to ask, like, what's going well in your day? What are you enjoying about your job? What challenges are you facing, or roadblocks that we can help you with? Because everybody brings a very unique perspective, and all of those data points, I think, can really formulate a very strong picture in my mind so that I can be a better decision maker firm-wide.
being present, being transparent, asking good questions, and being invested is it seems simple, but a lot of times that gets lost. And especially when you're working on so many different things, everybody's busy. Take the time. It's a good example for leadership. It's take the time, ask the questions, be there, and know that when somebody says something, it's going to be heard and it's actually accounted for.
I think truly being open to the feedback that you hear. We all say that we're sure, I'm open to feedback, I crave feedback, and then you hear something and you're like, ooh. And so really having that open mind and being willing to take action when you hear something that could really influence the success of the firm in the future.
So looking ahead, I mean, you have a couple months under your belt now as president and CEO. What are some of the strategic initiatives you're looking at in 2024? Where do you want to take the firm into the new year?
So at Halff, one of our biggest initiatives this year is building our people. We're really investing in documenting what a career could look like at Halff long term. And so I'm excited about what we're rolling out with just the career path and progression model so that everybody can see how they continue to advance. We're also really focused this year, and we always have been, but putting a spotlight on our commitment to excellence. I think the mass amount of work in our industry is really creating a challenge where you've got to ensure that you have the right quality control approaches in place, and just ensuring that we're transferring knowledge from generation to generation in our industry. We're seeing so many retirements happen from the baby boomers that are leaving our industry. We've got a lot of new, excited, and very smart talent coming in. But what are we doing to intentionally ensure that knowledge is being transferred?
That institutional knowledge that is just the intangibles that you just don't get without that hands-on transfer.
Exactly. And there's so many advancements in technology right now, and the pace of change is moving so rapidly, but I don't really see that we're going to not need really critical thinkers. And that takes a lot of experience and training and just the opportunities to live and to make some mistakes and to learn from those. And so I think as we look to the future, how are we building the next generation of critical thinkers and problem solvers as we're incorporating technology into making us more efficient?
That's great, because that's what scares me, over-reliance on technology without the actual critical thinking behind it to see. It needs to be guided. It's not there yet. Lord knows we try AI, and sometimes it works. And when it works, great. When it doesn't, it really doesn't.
I've seen some crazy results as well.
Oh yeah, so. We had just a blog post. I said, give me a photo of New York, and it gave me a photo of Chicago. And a nondescript photo, like you wouldn't know that's the Empire State Building, or that's no, it was just a city. And then somebody pointed it out and was like, I'm from Chicago, I know where that was taken, that's not New York. And I'm like, well, thanks, AI.
Yes, I definitely think it's going to take our industry some trial and error, seeing what approaches work. And as we're looking at our firms and how we're going to approach this, we're thinking we need to make this investment while also completing all of our current work.
Exactly.
And so ensuring we really carve out the people and make sure they have the time to do the trial and error, because I'm afraid if we say, well, it didn't work for that, and you put it aside, we're going to be left far behind.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that we're trying to deal with. I think Technology Committee, not sure if you're involved in Technology Committee at all.
I haven't been.
I would recommend it, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to figure out exactly how do we adopt the technology intelligently and do it in a way where, to your point, you don't get left behind. You don't realize, well, this is too much work. We're too busy already. How do we, let's leave it while other firms are moving ahead. How does everybody collectively succeed with this technological change? It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, AI is just all over the place. It's always now. I mean, we can't not have a panel on it. So it's good to hear that you're addressing that front end.
Well, and I'm so grateful for ACEC having opportunities like this for our firms to get together and to really share, because I've been amazed by the generosity of the leaders across our industry, sharing ideas, sharing challenges. It's going to make us all better together.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I wish you nothing but the best for the remainder of the year and forward beyond that. And I really appreciate you taking the time to come back and build on what we talked about back in Austin, which never made air, but that's life.
No, I thank you so much for the opportunity. Great to see you again.
Fantastic. Well, again, Jessica Baker Daly, she is President and CEO of Halff Engineering, and this has been Engineering Influence, a podcast from the American Council of Engineering Companies. We'll see you next time.